on whether to disqualify Fulton County DA Fani Willis from President Trump's Georgia election case. That ruling expected today. 6 counts were tossed this week against the former president and his 18 co-defendants. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan is now threatening to hold Willis in contempt of Congress if she does not comply with the subpoena and give up documents related to her office's use of federal funds. Joining me right now to talk about that and all of these other cases against Trump, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus. He is the author of Get Trump, The Threat to Civil Liberties, Due Process, and Our Constitutional Rule of Law. Alan Dershowitz back with me. Alan, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I want to go through all of these cases with you. You were so spot on with your book, Get Trump. What are you expecting out of the Fonny Willis debacle?
Well, first of all, the person on trial today is Judge McAfee. Everybody knows what happened in his courtroom. Willis lied. Wade lied. The witness on their behalf lied. We know they had an affair. We know it started well before she hired him. We have the pings. We have the cell phone records. We have everything. We saw them testify. Everybody knows what happened in that courtroom. Now the question is, will Judge McAfee be honest? Or will he try to an actual conflict? Maybe there's a apparent conflict, but that's not enough under the law. That's all nonsense. He's on trial now. The American public wants him to do justice because we all know what happened, and he knows what happened. Let's see if he has the courage of his convictions.
So, Alan, I think you make such a great point about the judge. He was very specific. He said, I'm not going to allow politics to get in the way of my decision-making here. Let's say Fani Willis is thrown off the case. Then what happens? Do you think somebody else takes it up?
Yeah, and it has to be sent to a different county, Cobb County or other county, and they really have to start from scratch. So we're talking about a case that gets tried well after the election. Look, this judge is going to take politics into account. He's running for re-election now. He has an opponent.
Oh, God.
Lives in the world. He has to go to work every day in Fulton County. He's not going to look the DA in the eye and say, I think you committed perjury and ought to be disbarred and ought to go to jail. He's not going to say that. He's going to figure out a way around that.
Wow, this really interesting case. Can't wait to see how this plays out. Let me take you now to Florida, Alan. Judge Eileen Cannon says she's not dismissing President Trump's classified documents case. Even though the White House is dismissing Joe Biden's case, she's citing unconstitutional vagueness as the reason that she won't dismiss this. What does that mean?
Well, the law ought to be that you have equal protection. And if a person who's the president isn't being indicted or investigated for a comparable offense. And remember, the crimes are identical. Yeah. In both cases, the president, the former president, held papers up, said essentially they're classified. Biden told his ghostwriter, be careful, this is probably classified. And then he showed him the material and said, look, I can't read this writing, read it. The crimes are identical. The behavior may be different. I mean, her says, well, you know, Biden's a nice guy and he's an old man, so we're not going to prosecute him. But the actual crimes are identical. But the law does not require dismissal just because of a denial of equal protection. It should, but it doesn't. So she's going to let the case go forward. But a jury certainly will know that a comparable case against Biden wasn't prosecuted, and they may very well take that into account.
How would you assess all of these cases today against Trump? I mean, and then you've got Alvin Bragg in New York.
The weakest case possible. That's a made-up case. He should be investigated for bringing that case. Nobody in history has ever been charged with failing to disclose on a corporate form the fact that he paid hush money. The reason you pay hush money is so not to disclose it. Alexander Hamilton paid hush money. This is the first case in history anybody has ever been tried on this kind of made-up case. So it's the weakest case of all. And now he is prepared to have a delay. But that case may get tried first. And it's New York, so there'll be a conviction in Manhattan. You know, a jury in Manhattan will convict a ham sandwich if its name is Trump. And so I think there'll be a conviction and very likely a reversal on appeal. But the reversal on appeal may not come until after the election.
So you think a conviction happens before the election, Alan?
It's possible because it's New York City. And you have, what, 5% of the jury poll probably hated Donald Trump and will find a way to convict him. If the judge is reasonable, he would throw the case out. There is no case there at all. Look, the strongest case is the Florida case because Donald Trump did hold a piece of paper and say this is classified.
Yeah.
But that's not a smoking cigarette butt. It's such a minor case. Every former president has taken classified material with them. That would not affect voters. I think the New York case would not affect voters. The case that would affect voters probably is the Washington, D.C. case. And that's now on hold as a result of the president's lawyer's motion for immunity. And all the pundits are predicting that it'll just be affirmed, 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 and thrown out. I don't think so. I think the Supreme Court may well split the difference and say there is some immunity, not as broad as Trump wanted, not as narrow as the other side wanted. Let's send it back and see where it goes from here. These are all complicated cases. I could have taught a whole course at Harvard Law School just on these cases alone, but they all constitute, in effect, election interference. None of these cases would have been brought if Trump were not running for president.
Yeah, unbelievable. I'm joined for the rest of the hour with Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway. Let me bring Kellyanne in. Go ahead, Kellyanne.
Well, this is fascinating to me. I'm a fully recovered attorney, haven't practiced in years, and I listened to Professor Dershowitz. But if anybody had told you a year ago, Maria, that the Fani Willis case in Georgia would be falling apart because of her shenanigans, her illegality, that Alvin Bragg, where I testified twice over a year ago in that Stormy Daniels nonsense case, would need another 30 days to put on the nonsense case, where the president got a unanimous decision by the United States Supreme Court. I'll extend what Professor Dershowitz said. He said none of these lawsuits would be happening if Donald Trump weren't running for president, semicolon, and if they knew how to beat him fairly and squarely at the polls. If they had in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris leaders who make you feel good about their handling of the major issues, inflation and crime and the border and Ukraine and Israel and you name it. He's underwater on all these issues. He has a couple extra points on January 6th, or abortion, or climate change, or electric vehicles. That's what this campaign's going to be about, from the commander-in-chief, when there's chaos and crisis everywhere we look. But Trump, you never count him out. Nobody evades persecution and eludes prosecution quite like him.
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
Politics are. It shouldn't matter whether you support Trump or you support Biden. Every American should be opposed to this use of the criminal justice system against any politician, because today it's Trump, tomorrow it's, a Democrat, the next day it's your uncle, and that it's you.
Absolutely right.
So we have to all be concerned about this abuse of the criminalization of the judicial system, the politicization of the criminal justice system.
And they make it so obvious, Alan. The White House sent a letter to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, this morning, saying that it's time to move on from the impeachment efforts against President Biden. The lawyer writes this, the general counsel of the White House: the investigation has continually turned up evidence that, in fact, the president did nothing wrong. Alan, this is the first time the White House counsel has ever sent a letter directly to the Speaker of the House, even though James Comer will tell you they've got plenty of evidence that actually ties Joe Biden to everything.
But I don't think Biden has committed an impeachable offense any more than I thought Donald Trump committed an impeachable offense. You need to have treason, bribery, other high crimes and misdemeanors. You can't just make it up. And I think they're trying to make it up against Biden just the way they made it up against Trump. And I'm opposed to both impeachments. Let the people decide. There's an election coming up. It's very close. We don't know who's going to win. That's the American way. And Chuck Schumer shouldn't be telling the Israeli people who to vote for in their election either. And he should keep his nose out of Israeli politics, just the way Israeli politicians shouldn't interfere in American politics. Neither of us are banana republics. We both are democracies, and our people determine who our leaders are, not the people or the politicians in another country. So, Chuck Schumer, look, I admire your support for Israel, but please keep your nose out of Israeli domestic politics.
Actually, you make a great point. He's the most senior Jewish person in the Senate, Alan, and he's asking for elections now to get Bibi Netanyahu out in the middle of a war.
Look, he shouldn't be doing that. Chuck Schumer has always put his own personal ambitions and party considerations over support for Israel. He wasn't as strong on the Iran deal as all of us would have liked him to be. He's been a strong supporter of Israel, but it's not proper for an American leader, Jewish leader, or any other leader to be telling the Israeli people who to vote for. They are smart people, and they have a democratic president. They can figure out how to do this. And
it's a great
we ought to be
point.
concerned about our own election, not the election in another country.
All right, Alan, thank you very much for weighing in on all of that. It is good to see you.